So I'm here with Trevor with Voodoo Robotics. We're just chatting here. We've got some really cool stuff going on here at MODEX. So Trevor, tell me a little bit about Voodoo Robotics, what you guys do, and these really cool toys that you guys are rolling out with here.
That we're rolling out. So we're a fairly young company, and we've been around about 3 years or so. And we got a brand new product that we're bringing out here at MODEX. It's a what we call a cloud display device. So it basically a wireless device, runs on 2 AA batteries, and it's got 2 lines of text that you can program. And the cool part is that you can program it using a URL. So just like what you put in your web browser, I have an example over here. Basically, this is our server in the Amazon cloud. Every device has a unique ID, so you make that part of your URL, and then what you want in the first line of the device, what you want in the second line, that's also part of the URL. And then when you submit that URL, 2 seconds later, the device turns on. So people look at that and they're like, wow, like it's pick to light. But really, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff with this thing. You can do put to light, you can do will call areas like this. And of course, with running on a URL, you can encode it in a barcode, for example. And then when you scan that barcode, well, the device will light up, in response to the scan. So there are lots of different ways that you can use this device. As I said, it runs on 2 AA batteries, but those batteries can last a long, long time because it's sleeping. In this state, when the light is off, it's really consuming very, very little power. It can run for years like that. It's really when the light is on, that's when you're really burning power. And so we typically quote people about a year of battery life on 2 AA batteries. We've got some in our warehouse that have been running for close to 2 years now. So, but these devices, one of the key things is that it's very economical to deploy as well. So we're doing hardware as a service, which means that we lease these devices month to month. There's no long-term commitment, which means there's no complicated ROI analysis or anything like that. If they work for you, great. If they don't work for you, you return them, no harm, no foul. You can scale up in the busy season, scale down, when you're done with them, send them back to us. So very easy system to integrate because of the URL and deploy in all sorts of crazy things. We've got people talking about using them, in bay doors to mark, where trucks are supposed to pull in and tell drivers in Spanish, for example, viene aquí, with their truck and things like that. So very flexible device, very useful in a warehouse environment.
That sounds awesome. It sounds like just a whole multitude, a whole host of applications like
Absolutely.
you mentioned.
We try to build a platform that people can leverage for a variety of different uses.
It looks like just from a programming standpoint, once you have the platform there, it looks like it's very easy to deploy.
Absolutely, and in fact on our website we've got examples where I've done, for example, a Google Sheets implementation where I did a whole picking scenario in Google Sheets, and that really, it took me very little time to program that up using, it's a JavaScript-like language that runs Google Sheets. We've got an example in Excel, Microsoft Excel. You can actually specify, so you can actually have cells, the contents of cells tied to the contents of tags. So in fact, these devices can actually store information so that when you push the button and come up to the device, it'll actually show you some piece of information. So that can come directly out of your spreadsheet, or maybe it's got some inventory that it's attached to, a bucket with a SKU number and quantity, something like that. So very, very useful platform to work with.
That's awesome. Now, before we started recording, you were telling me you got another product here that you
that's
are.
Right,
it's a big.
Right.
What is this?
That's much more interesting. So,
okay.
So these devices, they have a range of about 75 feet to our router, which we call a turbo. That turbo is typically connected to your network through Wi-Fi or Ethernet. And the problem that we have is if you're going to deploy just a few of these devices in a big cavernous warehouse, you don't want to put those routers everywhere. And so the product that we came up with actually is right here, is this device. We call this a mobile turbo as opposed to a regular turbo. And the idea behind this is that a picker can put this on his hip, right? Or he can
bring the Wi-Fi with.
Exactly, or you put it on the cart, And this thing connects to your Wi-Fi network for your site and is able to communicate to all the tags within its vicinity. And so in that way, you can really save a tremendous amount of money. You don't have to wire up your whole warehouse. We're all about the ease of deployment. You know, I didn't want to build a product that requires you to change your WMS or do things differently from what you're normally doing. I wanted something that would really enhance operations and improve productivity without being a huge burden, to the customer to adopt.
That's awesome. That sounds like I don't know, I geek out on all this stuff. I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun at our office in Plano, Texas. We build these devices in North Texas, and we designed the whole thing all in-house, and we have a lot of fun playing with electronics and little microprocessors, microcontrollers, and things like that. So.
Oh, I bet. So let's transition a little bit into that market. So you've got a really cool product or cool products. What's your go-to market strategy at this point?
We're a young company, as I say, so we're very aggressive in going after new markets. We found a very strong market for these devices in the 3PL sector because with our hardware as a service plan, 3PLs, they have these short-term contracts, 3 years if they're lucky, but 6 months if they're unlucky. Deploying something like Manhattan or something, that can take 3 months, so those guys are really happy to have a hardware as a service platform that they can leverage. So one plan for us is to really aggressively go after these 3PL companies. But really, almost anybody with a warehouse can benefit from the technology. And really, I think the fundamental part of the marketing for us is this idea that we're going month to month. Of course, if you've got a huge deployment, of tens of thousands of devices, you may want to buy them, and we would do that. But having the ability to just send out, like we do a starter kit for $450 or so for the first month and $180 a month after that for 10 devices. Now, if you did a pick-to-light system, I've seen like 100-light pick-to-light system for $250,000. And just the installation of a pick-to-light wired system, they have to dig up the concrete and all that stuff. It costs way more than what we have for, a few devices, really. So a key part of our marketing strategy is this idea that, there's no commitment from the customer. It's up to us to make a product that the customer really wants and that is going to keep, And if he doesn't like it, he's going to send it back to us. So we better have our act together. And so it puts the burden on us to build a really great product.
That's a really great point, because that's a lot of pitfalls we see. A lot of manufacturers and companies essentially developing products think, hey, this is really cool, we really like this, but if the customer doesn't really want it, there's not a need there, it's not a solution to an existing problem, it's just a really cool piece of technology that isn't really helpful, but it's cool, but it isn't helpful in solving that challenge. So that's smart. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's an old story about those companies that are driven by engineering, where they say, oh, we can build this really cool thing, and they go out and build it. Or the companies that are built around sales, where the salesman says, oh, I'm going to promise this customer the most amazing thing, and then go to engineering and say, can you build it? And really, those companies are never successful. It's the companies that are focused on the market and matching what you can build with what the customer wants. And that's really the success, that's how you find success in the market. It's really, reconciling those two forces in the market.
Awesome. Last question.
Sure.
What are your top 3 marketing tactics?
Top 3 marketing tactics, gosh. I want to say listen, but no, listen is clearly a key thing. You have to very carefully listen, to what the customer wants and what that industry needs. I think particularly for us in the supply chain, I'd say, a word to watch out for is disruption. You don't want to be disruptive to the supply chain. Supply chains are the heartbeat of a company. And so you really don't want to interrupt the supply chain or impose any burden on the company to adopt a new technology and retrain workers or anything like that. Having something that's easy to adopt is a critical part. And then I think the last word is probably incremental. There are a lot of companies that need to change, and they need to go from point A to point B, and that's a very big gulf. And giving them little stepping points from one point to the other is a really important part. We try to build products that are little incremental advances for the supply chain so that it's digestible for the customer. And so that's really, I'd say those are my three top tips for marketing.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. To tell us about your product, and what you guys got going on from a marketing standpoint, Trevor.
Great to meet you. Thanks for stopping by.
Last question. Sorry, I was about
ahead.
to cut the interview off too early. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way of reaching you?
Oh, the best way is to go to voodoorobotics.com, and you can see our beautiful logo up there with a squirrel. You can find our cloud display devices on there. We have a beautiful website. My confession is, it's actually my wife that built the website. She's an incredible designer.
We will tell anybody. Yeah, she's an incredible designer. Absolutely. Yeah.
She really is very, very talented, and she's an entrepreneur herself. So,
that's
really,
awesome.
Really fantastic woman I'm married to. I'm married up.
Well, I think a lot of us have. That's good. It's good to recognize it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, I lied. I do have one more other question because you piqued my interest with your logo. All right, so we got this. What is? So tell me, what's the thinking behind the motivation behind the squirrel?
Well, squirrels often hide nuts, and nuts can be very hard to find in the yard. It's a lot like products, looking for products in a warehouse. I don't know if it's kind of like when you're a picker. It's kind of like if you were in the front of Home Depot and they gave you one of those 6-digit screws and they said, "Go find it." Like, you'd never find it. So we sort of had that motivation. We wanted something that, really looked cool, obviously, and animal logo is always catchy, so, we chose something there. And I think we really did a great job. We have a monochrome version and color versions on the website. We've had a lot of good compliments, both about the logo and about the name. I think a lot of people like the name Voodoo Robotics, too. So.
Actually, wow. So where Voodoo, where does that come from?
Oh, Voodoo Robotics, so... we were sitting around thinking about what makes a successful name, and the companies like Google and Yahoo, and we started thinking, gee, there are a lot of vowels in that name, and a lot of double vowels. So we started thinking, okay, what are some of the words with double vowels, and so we came up with a whole bunch, and Voodoo seemed to be the best one. So we said, okay, Voodoo Robotics, that's going to be it.
No, that's awesome. I love it. See, and I love it. It's important. Telling the story. There's a story behind all of this. Yeah. There's a reason for the logo development. It tells a story on what you guys, the challenge, the problems you guys are solving. I love it. It's awesome.
Absolutely, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be in a startup. Sometimes very, very hard work, but really we have a blast. Really a lot of fun.
Well, congratulations. Best of luck. And maybe we'll see you, at ProMat next year.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right, bye.